Stellar MCP-client XDK. Hello to everyone watching, it's Blockchain Up here. What is the Stellar MCP client XDK? The Stellar MCP client allows you to connect to Stellar MCP generated MCP servers. What do I mean by Stellar MCP generated MCP servers? With the help of a Stellar generator plugin, Stellar MCP generates, you could create a MCP servers with just the contract ID. If you want to find more information about this, you can check the docs at MCP generator or watch the previous video, which we talked about setting up Stellar MCP. We added an XDK support that allows you to interact with those MCP servers. Okay. Why should you use this XDK? The purpose of the XDK is for tool discovery, making transaction signing simpler. Now for you to use the XDK, the first migratory stuff is you must have a deployed URL that's currently running, which is your Stellar HTTP transport MCP server. You can simply generate that by running this plugin command, Stellar MCP generates. Provide your contract ID, your output and token type. You can simply check the docs, which is the MCP generator, for more details. For me, in my case here, I already have a generated MCP server, which is this. So I'm going to be using that in our case. I'm going to start my HTTP transport with PNPM just to make sure all the dependencies are installed. I can go ahead and build. Okay, okay. Then we can start our HTTP MCP server by running the command pnpm start HTTP. And now we have our HTTP transport running on localhost 3000, which is the first prerequisite. We just did the first prerequisite, which is making sure your MCP server it's running. Yes, ours is running on this case. What is the second prerequisite? The second prerequisite is installation and initializing of your project. I do want to mention that based on your project or the application you are building, there is a peer dependencies. For instance, if you are working on the web, you'd have to install this Stellar Wallet kit. If you want to work with a passkey, you have to install alongside the passkey wallet. If you just want to use the server side and your private key, the only thing you need is the Stellar XDK. For my first demo, which we're just doing a server side installation, so we'll just go ahead and install this as the peer dependency. PNPM install the Stellar XDK and the MCP client. Once we're done installing, the next step is types generation. This is an optional step. It's just for type safety for those that are going to be using TypeScript. This automatically generates. What does this do? This helps you generate the types for the contract functions of the MCP URL that you provide, which allows you to know the return types of the tools. I'm going to show you what this looks like. Without type, I could barely tell what this client MCP is all about. I must specifically know what tools this URL is providing. What's the difference between the type and the untype? Well, on type, the tool names and the arguments are actually unknown a lot of time. So you must actually have to know the parameters and arguments each tools actually take. How can you generate type for your Stellar MCP HTTP transport server? All you have to do is just run this command npx mcp generate types, that's URL. And mind you, remember you have to point to your URL. For our case here, we're running on localhost 3000/mcp. Localhost 3000/mcp. There's something I do want to mention is if you do not provide this dash output directory, this is the current working directory, which our case here is going to be this. Also, if you are using that's just output, make sure the directory already exists. If not, you get errors like this, directory not found. So mkdir slc, and this is what the types looks like for this currently running MCP. So, and there you go. Trying to remember what the input looks like. You have a typing that can help you do that. So the return types too. The typing is very helpful and recommended. For our case here, we could already, there are some missing parameters such as the sort, the manager, initial supply, and more. Running the script, we can see what the admin looks like, the simulated results, and which is this. And also for the count, the simulated results, which is that. You can see the linter errors are gone once this is properly typed. So recommended use the typing. The next thing I want to talk about is the sign and submit, which allows you to submit a transaction via the secret key that you provide. In my case here, I'm going to be using a dummy secret key. So you see what the transaction looks like. Using my secret key, you can see the transaction is successful. This is the transaction hash. Let's verify this on the Explorer. Yeah, of course, transaction is successful, like I mentioned. Next, we're going to talk about the client.simulate. This allows you to do a dry run before you sign a transaction to check how much gas this will cost or if the transaction would fail. This typically takes the same inputs, but the return types of course change. You can see what our simulated results for this looks like. The field that this cost, I'm trying to deploy a token and the simulated results comes as this right here. So that is the end of the SDK. See you on the next section, which is the templates.